What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Schmidt Talkers, where we talk a little Schmidt about our health. I am Dr. D with Dr. Linz, and today we are going to talk about rebooting our metabolism because sometimes we all need it.
That's right. It's the truth right there, baby.
But
I need it.
Before we get into it, let's talk about our feel-good tip for today. Obviously, there's some crazy times right now. Some gyms are opening, some gyms are closing again. But remember, we have an amazing home workouts in the Daily Feel Good membership on drlindsayschmidt.com that you can take mobility, workouts, meal plans. You can take it all to your home today. You can make it into a routine.
Today.
And you can enjoy an amazing community that will be there for you anytime you need, when you need it.
That's right.
We'll be consistent. We're not going to be closing on you. We're going to get this thing done. So don't let it be an excuse with all the craziness happening to lack on your health and not take care of yourself. Join us today. And that is your feel good tip.
Feel good tip.
Yeah, you missed that the first time.
You didn't leave me on pause, so I was like, should I do it? Should I not do it? Should I interrupt? Should I not interrupt?
Always interrupt for
Okay.
feel good tips.
I mean, I don't have a problem with interrupting you, right? I always do.
All right, so let's get into what we're going to talk about today. We are going to talk about rebooting our metabolism because, like I said, sometimes we all need it. And right now, we're in the middle of the summer, but guess what? Rebooting our metabolism can happen in the winter, can happen in the spring. It can happen whenever you want to make it happen.
Mm-hmm. That's the truth.
So
I said that 2 times already. Don't say it again.
let's get into our first point of rebooting our metabolism. And guess what? It's gonna be one that's not really a huge surprise to any of you that have listened to us for a long time. It's eating plenty of protein.
Oh, hello.
That was a surprising one, wasn't it?
See, but if you think about it, like we're just coming off the 4th of July. I know with, having family in town, what do? Eat a bunch more carbs than what we normally do. Same with the festivities that you have, over the weekend. You're usually reaching for carbs and fats, and they're not bad. I mean, we need carbs and fats too, but that protein is really going to help our resting metabolic rate, which a lot of times is referred to our metabolism. Our resting metabolic rate is literally when we're at rest, how many calories our body can turn over in a day. So it's burning calories at rest pretty much. And if we're eating more protein, we're fueling our muscle, and our muscle is what's going to increase that resting metabolic rate. So that's a great way to reboot the metabolism, kids, is to eat more protein. And hey, I always use this story, Jack. When I first met you and I wanted to lean out a little bit, you told me to eat more protein. I was eating my cereal, my Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and
guess what? There's a lot of people that can probably relate to this. It isn't what you wanted to hear, was it?
Nope.
You got a little upset with me.
Yeah.
Not upset.
No, I was annoyed.
You were annoyed. Yeah, annoyed's a better word. You were annoyed that I said that to you because I repeated it quite often.
It doesn't sound like believable. Like when you're like, you need to eat more protein, and I'm just like, I do? Like, I need to eat more protein? Like, but I didn't even know how much I was eating in a day. It's just hard to believe, like, just eating more protein is going to reboot my body, essentially speed up the calories. But it did, though. I leaned out so much just by doing that.
And I think you made a great point there that it sounds unbelievable, but like you said, you weren't really sure how much protein you were even eating to begin with. And I talked to someone even earlier this week that was one of the main things is, they said they were eating enough protein, they were eating enough this, that, and everything. But it was like, okay, well, that's great. How much are you eating then?
They couldn't answer.
They couldn't answer because they weren't tracking anything. But yet they didn't want to track. And I get that. Tracking is annoying. It can be annoying, whatever. But the purpose of tracking, it's like a tool. Mm-hmm. It's a tool to understand really how much you're eating of something in a day. It's not like the end all be all, but that's why I asked that question, because they couldn't answer how much protein or any other food that they were eating in a day. And that just becomes problematic, especially if someone like us is looking over something, or anybody that's looking over something, or even say you're looking over for yourself, like, why am I not? Why is my metabolism slowing down? What's going on? You should be able to look at things and go, okay, maybe this area right here is problematic. Maybe I should adjust that a little bit, and you can kind of like nail down some things.
Yeah, it's like if you're in your car and you don't have a gas gauge of how full your gas tank is, you're not gonna know when you're on empty. You're not gonna know when you're gonna run out of gas. It's the same thing with food, because food is your energy, is your fuel. And that's what ignites your metabolism to go. If someone, if we're trying to help somebody and I can't see their log, that's the first thing I have people do. So that's something, if you're listening right now, the first thing you start doing is start logging your food to see where you're at. A lot of times I've seen when we're trying to eat healthy, we undereat when we're like really trying to cut all the junk out. So when you're under eating, that's not going to help your metabolism in the long run. So just that's the first tip, though, is just to increase that protein intake, and start cutting out the junk, from the weekend. That's what we're,
for sure. Number 2 is going to be aiming for at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep. If you listen to our podcast or listen to anything previously, we talk about this quite a bit too, because sleep is a time which our body does a lot of recovery. It does a lot of pattern recognition, learning, and recovery, muscle recovery, every kind of recovery possible. So that's why we do talk about sleep a lot, because we all kind of take it for granted. We all sleep. Some of us get more sleep than others, but it's just kind of something that we do, like using the restroom. It's just something that we do. So we kind of take it for granted, but it's super, super important. And it's so interesting, because that's why they're doing more research on it, is like, sleep is so important, but why do we have to sleep?
Yeah.
Like, we all have to sleep.
Yeah.
Some only sleep 4 hours, or like, I only get how many hours of sleep? Okay, but you still sleep some, And it's so important for our health, and especially rebooting our metabolism.
I think it's one of those underutilized tools to fat loss and metabolism, what we're talking about now. Like, again, I don't know about you guys that are listening, but I am beat. Having visitors, having extra festivities, you get really tired, and that stresses the body out. One of the things when you're sleeping too, are when you lack the sleep, I guess you can say, when you lack sleep, it's going to decrease leptin levels. We're talking about hormones right now, and increase ghrelin. So that's your hunger hormone. So if your ghrelin's getting increased, you're going to be more hungry during the day. You're going to have more cravings. You're going to be a ravenous beast eating all those chips and all those cookies that you didn't told yourself not to eat. It's going to happen, and it's going to be harder to stay away from, just because you're not getting the amount of sleep needed. And I notice that I get really hungry if I've been sleeping bad for the week or whatever. I'm like so hungry, and that's one of the hormone imbalances that can occur. So when you're sleeping, it balances out those hunger hormones.
And that's a great point. Something that I forget often. We call that hormone the gremlin, because it's like the little gremlin in our stomachs. But yeah, the lack of sleep that we get, we're actually staying awake more hours of the day. And what does that mean? Well, our body has to burn more calories. Our body has to use more energy because we're awake longer. So what does that mean? It means we're going to consume, or want to consume, more. Maybe get those really late night cravings, whatnot. So we're almost like hurting ourselves indirectly.
And there's another thing with that I always talk about, the cortisol hormone. That's the stress hormone. That's jacking up too. If you are getting super hungry right before bed, like cravings galore, that's a sign that your cortisol hormone is skyrocketing, or imbalanced, I should say, where it's not dwindling down at the end of the night and you're getting those cravings. Another thing is glucose metabolism when you sleep too. So if you have things like PCOS or diabetes, things like that, or some kind of glucose sensitivity, sleeping can help your body, right? So with glucose, and that's super important for everyone in regards to metabolism. In regards to fat loss, you want your blood sugar levels to remain steady eddy and those receptors to be working well.
And here's even a great tip on top of that, like you said, is talking about glucose and everything, and And we don't really talk about intermittent fasting very much, but
Right.
a very easy, common method of quote unquote intermittent fasting is that fasting time while you sleep. People don't usually include that time period. So if you're getting the proper amount of sleep, technically you're gonna be fasting for that 8-hour window.
Right.
And it's not hard to make that 8-hour window go to a 9-10-hour window, which is what a lot of intermittent fasting recommendations are during that time.
We do it not even trying to intermittent fast.
Exactly. And
Just what time we get done eating and then.
Exactly, and that's my point, that you don't have to be extreme to find the benefits of some of these things. Just getting the proper amount of sleep, you're in that window
Right.
automatically.
Yeah, and-
and you can see some of the benefits then.
And that's one of the things too, like if someone has problems sleeping, if right now I'm taking Core 21, which is a supplement to help get nice deep sleep and then also work with cortisol, so it's going to help the adrenals out there, the adrenal glands. There's that, and it has digestive enzymes, so it's going to work on the gut too. It's going to help the belly out. Core 21, and then you're taking NIT right now, which is more for recovery. If you're working out, hitting it hard, maybe you're doing a lot of yard work, things like that, and you can't fall asleep. Those are two supplementations that we take not only to get us to sleep, but to get in a nice deep sleep, to feel restful upon waking.
So that's interesting that you touched on that too. There's 3 things, the reason I take night tea, and 3 things in it that I've taken for a really long time before bed is zinc, magnesium, and then those B vitamins, B6, B12. Those 3 things are super, super important and have been shown to help recovery as you sleep tremendously. So zinc, magnesium, and those B vitamins are super, super important
And that's
for our health and our recovery and our even neural state, our mind,
Yeah. Well, and that's in NIT, right? That's
Yes,
what you said.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So I think we talked about that enough. So let's jump on to the next point 3. Let's talk about our gut health.
Oh, baby. And I kind of mentioned that with Core 21. It has those digestive enzymes in there. But if we're talking about speeding up the metabolism, rebooting our body, the gut is one of those things that we're going to want to focus on. And I think this is an everyday focus. This is like focus on the gut, focus on gut love all the time. And an easy way to do this is implementing in probiotic rich foods, and daily gut supplementation is like how I like to word it. An easy chock full probiotic food is sauerkraut. Now, sometimes people like sauerkraut, some people don't like sauerkraut. And there are some brands that have like dill pickle kraut. So I like that. I think it's farmhouse culture or something. Did you ever have that when I would get that?
No.
No.
I had some of the chips. Is that what you're?
Yeah, the kraut chips are
the
good
kraut
too.
chips are good.
Yeah, but sauerkraut is a great fermented food that's loaded, and then bone broth is another great one too. As far as food goes, those tend to be the top 2 things that I recommend for gut enriching foods to implement in, and then Happy Greens 50. Those are that's my everyday.
So I think the important thing that I want to touch on that is that to clear something up is I think sometimes people, whenever they think of gut health, they think it always points back to like probiotics or prebiotics, and they think that's all that they can do.
All it is.
They think that's like all it is.
Yeah.
And there's so much more to gut health than just probiotics and prebiotics, which too are very, very important. But one of the things I guess I'm thinking of off the top of my head is like digestive enzymes, or our ability to basically break down the food that we take in. That goes back to gut health. Our body's ability to break down these foods and take the nutrients from these foods and basically like a highway, send it like Amazon, send it to wherever it needs it throughout the body. If our body is having trouble sending the packages to where it needs to be, there's a lot of stressful things that can happen. It goes back to the cortisol thing we were talking about earlier, because the gut is essentially like a lot of parts of our body, it's a communicator. It communicates messages, it sends messages to our brain, kind of like, hey boss, this is what's going on. And the brain kind of like analyzes it and it's like, okay, well, maybe we should release these hormones or do this because I'm not down there. That's your job. You're the manager down there and you're kind of communicating with me what's going on and I'm reacting to it. And that's where then cortisol and all these other hormones can take place, sometimes leading to bad things like retaining weight, unable to lose weight, or having a hard time losing weight. So it's more than just the probiotics and prebiotics with the gut. We need to start looking at the foods that we're eating on a daily basis, because a lot of the foods that we're eating on a daily basis has those prebiotics. Some of the foods have the probiotics as well. You've named some of them. Let's also look into helping our body break down some things. So the digestive enzymes. Let's start looking into amino acids. Where are amino acids? Well, amino acids are in a lot of our meat sources. Also, amino acids can be found in supplements as well. Amino acids can be found in fruits and vegetables as well. But some of these amino acids, glutamine is a great example, can help our gut actually repair, which is essential. You know, we talked about leaky gut in past podcasts, and that's important for our gut health overall as well. But I think I just quickly want to talk about that because I think sometimes we get so stuck on probiotics, prebiotics. That's all I can do for my gut. And that's not true. There's so many things we can do for our gut, you know, which can help reboot our metabolism.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. I'll get a lot of messages. You know, we get a lot of messages about gut health, and someone goes, I'm taking a good probiotic. Okay, is that all you're doing? And, you know, what does your food look like? And then, you know, then I share what I take, which the things we take have a lot of blends in them. Like the OptiGreens 50, for example, has digestive enzymes and probiotics that are both been heavily researched. Now, for those of you who do not know, our body does produce digestive enzymes on their own. They can decrease as we age, the digestive enzymes. And then also what I've seen happen just with people in general is, this is my, I guess, theory. I don't know if I've read research about this. I know you all agree. It just makes sense. I don't think you know what I'm gonna say. But as a culture, we eat a lot of processed foods. That food's a lot easier for our body to break down when the food is processed. So think chips and cereals, I don't know, canned vegetables. It's a lot easier for our body to break down. Now we're switching to whole foods. We're switching to whole meat. We're switching to steaks. We're switching to chicken breasts. We're switching to raw vegetables, raw foods, fruits, nuts. These are going to be a lot harder for our body to break down. Okay, so we shouldn't be eating those processed foods, and quite frankly, that ruins the gut. Over time, now we're implementing these real foods. It's harder for the body to break down. I had someone tell me the other day that their trainer told them to stop eating red meat because it's harder for the body to break down. And I'm like, what does that? And it wasn't hurting her stomach or anything. Literally, and I'm like, why? And I was like, just to let you know, there's a lot of things in red meat, like vitamins and minerals and amino acids that are hard to find in other foods. And it just like, what the heck? It was just, I know, random, but it really irked me.
So I want to touch on that.
Because then I don't want to step on any toes either. But
yeah, I think there's something in our culture and our society that we need to start changing our mindset on. We try to, I think sometimes, a lot of times, we try to take the easy way out. So we try to take the easy way out with our body a lot of times too. So like what he said, red meat is harder to digest. And first I would say compared to what? Processed foods? Of course it
Belly
is.
meat?
It's
Of
not
course.
as processed. But that's not always a bad thing. Now, we've talked about this previously. If someone has terrible gut health and their gut has been broken down over time, is it going to be harder for them to digest certain foods? Yes, but that doesn't mean the foods are necessarily bad for them. It just means that their gut needs to be repaired and reinoculated. So that's the first thing. So it's not always that red meats or even some fruits and vegetables I know are hard for people to digest and break down too. It's not that those foods are bad. It's just that the body has to be trained and repaired so that it can start breaking down those foods and fruits, vegetables, meats, whatever the foods are. Because like you said, I'm not one-sided on foods. Every food has certain nutrient levels and our body thrives on those nutrients. And we need them. And honestly, sometimes our bodies need to be toughened up a little bit. Sometimes it's not an unhealthy thing that our body has to produce more digestive enzymes. It's not a bad thing for our body to have to start producing more on its own to break down those foods. It's not a bad thing. I personally, this is my thinking, I personally don't like if my body's not able to break down the foods that it should have been all along, because the body has a tendency from our schooling and our experience that it will do that. If there's
It'll
no
adapt.
reason, it's kind of like you don't use it, you lose it kind of thing. The body is such a good adapter that if it's not forced to overproduce, it won't. It will do what it has to do. If there's no reason to ever break down red meat or those type of structures of muscle cells
From that meat.
from meat, why would it be prepared to? Over time, it won't. It will adapt to not have to do that. That's just what the body's good at doing. It won't go the opposite direction usually and be like, I am so prepared for this. It won't go in that direction. So we need to change our mindset and prepare our body and make our body healthier by being able to break down the things that it should have been able to break down all along. It's a classic example of why do we advocate movement and functional movement? Because there's certain movements that we need to be doing all along, and it's healthy for us, even though I know they're tougher. It's difficult. It's not something we always want to do, but it's good for our bodies.
It's a double-edged sword. I see a lot of times you're implementing in this new whole food to your body, and then, so that's one edge, and then, so your body's having a hard time with this new food, but then on the other side is that your body's not prepared for this. So you have to then add in external things to help. So something like on OptiGreens that has digestive enzymes, or there's separate digestive enzyme capsules you can take with your food. GI Advantage, which is going to be more of a gut healer. You have to then add in these things with then the proper food when your body's been broken down so much. It's like getting off of birth control. Your liver is going to be broken down. Your gut's going to be broken down. You can't just do food. Honestly, if you want to be fully like vital life, you have to do the supplementation route. I think of supplementation like my medication kind of thing. Like, this is what's going to help me get better. But then I think a lot of people just look for supplements too and not implement in food. Does that make sense? So like, I was talking to this one lady that was getting help with her gut, and I was like, what about your condiments? Are you looking at the oils? Because inflammatory oils are in a lot of, dressings and condiments. And she's like, no, I wasn't. And that's one thing I realized. If you want to reboot your body, check your freaking condiments, man. Because I can tell if we get like a cheap dressing, I get bloated because of the oil in it. And our bodies aren't used to that inflammatory oil anymore. So
yeah,
we kind of got on a kick there.
I was gonna say, I apologize. I got on a kick, but
but it was good though. There's a lot of points there.
Yeah, to round it off, rebooting our metabolism, super important. We need it in certain times. And the great thing about it is we actually are going to we do these periodically throughout the year, but we've got one actually coming up in about a week or so. We've got our, yearly summer sizzle or whatever.
Yeah, we got our 21-day summer sizzle. This is our second annual.
That's right, second annual
21-day summer sizzle. And we're going to be focusing on a lot of the things we talked about today and more. You can sign up on drlindsayschmidt.com/join. It's a part of our daily feel good membership. We include our focuses. There's going to need to be optional check-ins, optional accountability buddies, and then what we're going to have is a packet, daily sizzle list, so daily list to keep us on track, get us going with that reboot, and feeling good for the rest of the summer leading up to August. It's going to be fantastico. We have so much fun doing this.
Yeah, so join us. Don't let the craziness, like we said with the Feel Good tip, stop you from achieving your goals.
That's
right.
Come on now.
So you already said it. Go to drlindsayschmidt.com if you're interested, or reach out if you have any questions. We're always here for you guys. Come on. You know that by now if you've been listening. Thank you guys so much for listening. Please share this with anyone that you think might learn from this or may be interested in this. We can't spread the good word of health without you, so we're so thankful for any support that we receive from you. So I think that's it, right? Did I miss anything?
Nope. We got on a tangent and we covered it all, baby.
Okay. Thank you again, guys, for listening. We love you guys, and we will talk to you next time.
See you later.